Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the PowettPlay Podcast. As always, it's me, Jordan and Shannon, and I'm joined by Kieran Powell. How are you, Kai?
Not too bad. Cross-country trip at the moment, but enjoying it. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you very much. I know it's quite hard to figure out where you are at this minute in time zones and things changing and stuff. But yesterday, it was the first ODI. We had Shuvo on the Friday to discuss that. I think some of his predictions with a wicket were absolutely spot on how he called it. But from a West Indies standpoint, a very disappointing start to the series.
Yeah, I was just looking back at the highlights. Obviously, it was pretty much driving the entire course of the game. But I've never seen a pitch that color. It sort of looked like, when there's like a patchy area with grass and it's just like there's been lots of rainfall and then it's just damp.
Like
that. Yeah, it looked horrible. And I'm actually surprised that the West Indies won the toss and chose to bowl first on a pitch like that because, obviously they go with this notion of trying to chase scores in limited overs games. I'm not necessarily the biggest proponent of that theory, but that's what they seem to go with. But a pitch like that is never going to get any better, is it? It's only going to get worse. So I think if you can get first use of it before people start running on it, before it starts drying up and breaking away, I think it serves you a lot better, especially knowing that the West Indies would want probably more pace on the ball than the opposition are going to afford them. So getting the best use or first use of the pitch in that situation would be sort of ideal.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that you mentioned there the key standouts, obviously from a bowling perspective, were both Ruston and Carey Pierre, but Shuvo mentioned that as well because in terms of from a spin perspective, it's how they both a lot quicker through the air with the ball, and that's where you sort of seen obviously how they got their results as well was that real pace on from a spin perspective. But yeah, it was probably I understand obviously they have their theories and what they want to stick with from a toss perspective, but they're going to probably have to adapt that going into the game into the second and third if the wickets remain the same, which seem to be.
Well, I think they're going to play on the same pitch for the entire series. I don't think that anything's going to change. The three of those will probably be on that same pitch, so it's going to be
I don't think they'll move across nowhere anything like that.
I don't. So it's probably going to get slower and slower. And true to form, average first inning score in Bangladesh is sort of 210.
220.
They got 207. West Indies got nowhere near that after having quite a good start. Leg spinner came on and sort of blew the game apart.
Yeah.
I think that, obviously Carey Pierre bowled really well, so did Ruston. I think that Moti had a bit of an off day given the conditions at hand, but I expect him to come good.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously in the next two games. But what's surprising to me is that someone like an Akil Hussain wasn't in contention for a series like this. I was looking at his numbers and he averages 29 with the ball in ODI cricket. So I don't understand, why he's not in contention for ODI cricket at all, much less in conditions like this that are definitely going to favour and suit spin bowling. And that's your biggest chance of winning the match. I think he could have easily substituted, let's say, a Romario Shepherd in this 11 or for this series without any sort of noticeable effect.
Obviously they're not going to be able to change that now, but do you think could be any personnel changes going into the second ODI?
Well, I don't know that there are any other spin bowling options available.
I don't think so, no.
From a batting standpoint as well, I'm not sure if they're going to probably look to add, let's say, the likes of an Aki Mogis to add another left-hander to combat the leg spin threat, because obviously you saw the likes of a Gudakesh Moti going to bat before adjusting Graves to try and negate that. I think, as we mentioned as well, sort of Casey Carter getting stuck against the spin, I think that's probably the only weak point in his 50 over game
Yeah.
right now. That's obviously something that he's going to be tested on again for the remainder of the series. So he needs to find a way to score, as do all of the batters, because
Well,
you look at the likes of a Brandon King and a Alec Athens to a lesser extent getting stats on a pitch like that.
just going to say the exact same thing.
Somebody has to take it as deep as possible, knowing that spin is going to be the big threat, and you've already gotten a start. You can't afford to expose, I guess, the middle order from both ends, with both players eventually getting out. One of them had to take it through.
Yeah, definitely. And that's when, in this day and age, everyone talks about strike rates and they talk about your 120s and your 125s. But realistically, someone yesterday, all they needed to get was an 80 off a 110 or a 120. And all of a sudden, it's completely changed, the game, and it allows then someone to bat around them, and you build a nice strategy there to tick over, which is ultimately what they're going to have to do in the second and third, is figure out ways of rotating the strike and moving the game along in a less aggressive way because of the wicket that we've discussed, really, which is, again, it's all about being adaptable and stuff. But you mentioned there about the batting. It's just a shame, you get that start. You do need somebody just to kick on, and it's such an integral part of the game at that point, really. It's 70 or whatever it is, 70 without lossing, and then you capitulate to that. It's poor.
Someone's going to have to make an ugly score from one end. So, someone's going to have to make an 80 from 140, 150 balls placed out of a test match innings, be happy with a not out, and then the rest of the team sort of contributes around that person. Someone's going to have to be happy to just soak up balls and score when they can, probably do majority of their scoring in the back end of the innings, probably in the last 10. It could possibly be a situation where they're going into the last 10, 45, 50 runs, and then get a quick 30 because they have the advantage of being at the crease for that length of time. But someone's going to have to do sort of an ugly job in order for the West Indies to get to a respectable total.
Do you reckon there's any way where they could bring in a Jediah Blades as a different option from a pace bowling perspective?
I'm not sure that's going to make a difference, though. No. Pace bowling is not necessarily what's going to win you the game here.
Just like different cutters, potentially.
Yeah. An inexperienced pace bowler is definitely not what's going to win you the game. So it's not really anything that's in his favour, and the West Indies need to win the next game and the next two games to stay ahead of Bangladesh in the rankings, obviously with the automatic qualification spots with the World Cup in play, especially in this series.
No, I'm with you. I think the point you made earlier about Moti as well, I think he'll come back better than the game after, because I think he'll just adjust his pace slightly, and I'm sure he'll figure that out. So there's going to be 30 overs of spin again from that perspective, and you just hope from a batting standpoint, like you said, someone does dig in and get an ugly score and allows the team to bat around them and go and bat first as well, get the first use out of it as well.
I expect Bangladesh to probably bowl 40 overs of spin in the next match, and the next 10 overs of seam will probably be 5-6 overs of cutters out of that seam. It's hardly any seam up, so it's not going to get any easier. And as Shovel mentioned, Bangladesh winning the first match after losing 11 of the last 12 are going to try and go for the kill here and get a 3-0 series victory.
No, yeah, I'm with you completely. It's brilliant to get Shuvo's insights on Friday, really, as well, because what he mentioned about the wicket and what he mentioned about how they go about was absolutely spot on. So it was really good to get that insight from a Bangladeshi perspective. Good.
100%. Right,
well, we'll have to see how the next two games unfold and see how they all pan out and whatnot. But they're gonna have to try and find ways of winning. That's the big thing. Is building this momentum and finding ways of winning games at cricket.
100%. We'll see what they come up with. Obviously, they went with Alec Athens. We thought they would have probably gone with Amir Jangu.
Yeah.
Interesting. They went with a Romario Shepherd. We also thought they'd go Shamar Joseph as well. So interesting to, I guess, see the thought process behind it all. But I mean, they normally say an Alec Athens is someone that plays spin well, but he's opening the batting.
Exactly.
You know,
I was going to say
so
that.
it's not necessarily matching up if you're saying he plays spin well, but you have him opening the batting. You'd want him in the middle or when the spinners are on. I'm sure that they would have gone with a Romario Shepherd, sorry, on the notion that he can give you some runs at the back end as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what combination they go with for the second match.
Yeah, definitely. But either way, like I mentioned, they've just got to find ways of winning games and stick together as a team. 'Cause it's going to be a team unit perspective that win these last two, unless someone does have a standout batting performance. But because of how you've just got to chip away at it, see how it all unfolds. But again, let us know what you think to that. What do you think about the selections? What do you think about the points there that we've discussed? Do let us know and we'll get back to you. And thank you for joining us for another episode of the PowettPlay Podcast. Cheers, Kai.
There you go.